I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're diving into the enthralling world of Defiant Throne. It is a masterpiece of historical fiction written by a terrific author. Her name is Aria Miranda. This novel reimagines the story of Queen Vashti as Queen Zenia, weaving a narrative rich in drama, politics, and the quest for power. From Spanish Harlem to the heart of ancient empires, this author brings a unique voice to storytelling, inspired by a diverse background in psychology, theology, and deep connection to community and culture. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our wonderful team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Aria, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you. I
This is,
am delighted to be here.
well, I'm delighted to have you. This is such an imaginative, unique story. It begs the question, how did you come up with it? This is so unusual.
I was um I was reading the book of Esther and I wondered what happened to Queen Vashti because
Mhm.
Queen Vashti didn't do anything wrong. She just stood for morals. And because of that, she was dethroned. They had a beauty contest, removed her, and replaced her with Queen Esther. But what happened to her? She was a royal princess. And no one in history could answer that question.
Hmm.
What happened? So I decided that I wanted to write about Vachi and what I thought happened to her.
Yeah. For those at home who aren't familiar with the story of Queen Vashti, tell us a little bit about her story.
Well, Queen Vachi was the queen of Persia during the Achaemenid Empire time, the wife of King Xerxes, King David in my story. And one day, the king was having a big banquet where he had all his military personnel present. And for no reason at all, he decided that he wanted to show off his wife.
Mhm.
Not just show her off, but show her off without any robe, just wearing the royal crown.
Hmm.
Well, this queen, who was actually the ancestry of King Nebuchadnezzar, refused.
Hmm.
She refused. Don't, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So the king asked his advisors, what can he do to restore order in his palace? And they advised him to remove her,
Hmm.
get somebody that's more worthy and more pliable.
Hmm.
And so the king did that. And he signed it with a signet ring, suggesting that it cannot be overthrown, it cannot be overruled, and he had to comply by what he signed.
Hmm.
And let me remind you that this happened many days after they had been having this big party. The king had to have been drunk out of his face, drinking so much rich wine. Yet he signed that decree.
Hmm.
She didn't know, so she was removed. And then they implemented a beauty contest, the first beauty pageant ever. The most beautiful women from all over the empire was brought in so that the king could select a new queen.
It's an amazing story. It's an amazing story. It's a biblical story.
It is biblical.
Yeah, amazing.
It is
Amazing.
biblical because the story of Esther is biblical. And so this
Right.
is a spin-off of the story of Esther.
Yeah. Now, was this your first time writing a book?
Yes.
So this was an ambitious project that you're going to write a piece of historical fiction. What propelled you to write this book of historical fiction? I know you had a curiosity about her story, but like I said, this was a lot to take on, but you handled it well.
Thank you. I love history.
Hmm.
I love it. And I like to understand what was going on at the time. And a lot of writers help us understand and see. And and feel what was going on. But a lot of us just give us information that doesn't really stimulate our senses.
Mm.
And so I like to go into the history and bring out those elements that stimulate our senses and makes us want to know what's more going on, because at the time it was a totally different lifestyle than what we understand it to be today.
Yeah.
And so everything was different. Their religion was different, their culture was different, their food was different. It was rich and diverse,
Mm.
and so many things that they did. And so I found it intriguing
Mm-hmm.
to be able to go into the history and bring out those elements so that I could stimulate those senses in my audience.
Absolutely. What are you hoping that the readers take away from it?
A rich history and understanding, but most of all, enjoyment.
Yeah.
I want my audience to enjoy,
Yeah. Entertainment. Yeah.
to be entertained.
Yeah. Have you thought about Defiant Throne perhaps as a movie or a series?
I thought about writing a second sequel to the story
Mm.
simply because my queen, Amara, which is Esther, she's still in the harem. She has not married Queen DeWitt
Gotcha.
at the end of my story, because remember, the story is about Vachi.
Mm-hmm.
So now I like to bring in a little bit more the elements of the harem living,
Mm-hmm.
what was going on there, the wedding, the royal wedding of King DeWitt and Queen Esther.
Mm-hmm.
And then the battles that Esther fought in order to save her people from the persecution that was coming.
Yeah.
So I like to bring those elements into my second book.
Well, have you started working on it yet?
I have.
Okay.
I have a skeleton.
Okay. And a lot of the word processor up here on bed as well, right?
Right. And because the world has already been created, I don't have to recreate it.
Mm.
Just
Exactly.
built on it.
Just pick
Mhm.
it up, we'll start running with the story, which is great as well. I love the title, Defiant Throne. It really captures one's imagination. Tell us how you came up with it and what you mean by it.
Defiant Throne is about a woman who refused to be subjected and oppressed and taken her glory from her.
Mm.
And because of that, she lost everything. But did she?
Yeah. When you take a
Did we
stand, you
lose?
might lose everything, but you keep your
Right.
self-respect, you keep your
But
dignity,
you keep
right?
your self-respect. You
Yeah.
keep your self-respect. And that's more important, I think, than being approved by others.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. How long did it take you to write Defiant Throne? Were you very disciplined about it? Did you get up every morning and write or every evening after work? Tell us a little bit about the process.
Mr. Crawford, I have to really thank Jane a lot for
Hmm.
helping me, because when I met Jane, I was like three chapters into the story, and
Hmm.
I pitched the idea of what I was writing about. And every week, this woman will call me up and follow up to see
Great.
how I was doing in my story. And that helped me push it, because discipline, I lack.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
I like to be out enjoying, and writing is a very secluded
yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah.
You don't go out and socialize much when you're writing. And so I that's how, Jane helped me a lot. She
Yeah.
really helped push it through. Um, I started out with a question. What happened to Queen Vashti? I have a background in criminal investigation.
Hmm.
And so all I did was an investigation.
Mm.
What were the witnesses saying? What did the witness say about Queen Vashti? I did the history. I did both the Hebrew history,
Hmm.
and I did also the Greek history. And they could not satisfy that question. And so then I went into the Persian history, and it's very little about her also. So she was not a very famous queen. So that gave me a whole book part to play with, because
Yeah.
I can imagine anything about who she was and what her achievements were.
Exactly. No boundaries is a good
No
thing. Creative
boundaries.
people are often not very disciplined. So we're glad Jane was there to breathe down your neck a little bit and say, hey, show me that next chapter. So that's terrific. The result of this work, this collaboration, and this inspiration is a wonderful book called Defiant Throne. It's a masterpiece of historical fiction written by Aria Miranda. It is the story of a queen who dared to say no. And it's a wonderful story, and there's messages in there for modern women, of course, as well. Aria, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you.
The pleasure's all mine. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.